I was working with a group last week, and I was describing introverted thinking, when one of the women stopped me and said, "Oh, so it's being socially retarded." and I said, yes, it can be, but it doesn't have to be. And it got me thinking about how we have this great misconception that people with a preference for thinking, or the thinking functions, are socially retarded, socially inept, shall we say. And that people who have preferences for the feeling functions are much more socially adept, much more socially graceful. And I think this happens because we take extroverted feeling and we subsume introverted feeling into it. Extroverted feeling, of course, is all about how the group is doing, how other people are doing, that desire for social harmony. It's manifested in a tremendous amount of empathy for others. And certainly, if you look at it that way, there is a social grace that comes with extroverted feeling. But introverted feeling is a completely different kettle of fish. Introverted feeling, as some people like to say, is not nice. Introverted feeling is not about the outside group. Introverted feeling is much more about how you feel internally, personally, what you feel is right and wrong. And I bring this up because it has great import, I believe, in politics. And to really understand introverted feeling, to understand it also from a political point of view, I think of King David from the Bible. David was just a little shepherd boy. He was the youngest of 7 brothers. And the prophet Samuel came to his home to find the next king. God had sent him there. And look, he goes through all 6 of the oldest brothers, none of whom are right. And David is out with the sheep. And when David comes home, Samuel says, "That is the one I want to take with me." And he takes him to Saul's court. Saul is the Israelite king at the time, and David is the harpist. And then one day, the Philistines' greatest, largest, most powerful warrior named Goliath calls out and says, "I will fight one of the Israelites in a battle to decide who of us is best." But of course, none of the Israelite soldiers are willing to take him up on it because he is a massive, giant man, and nobody is willing to do this except young David. And Saul says, "David, are you sure you want to do this?" And David said, "Yes, I have God with me." And he's given a sword, and David takes the sword off, and he won't wear it. And instead he goes to the river, and he pulls 5 smooth stones from the water, and he drops them one by one into a shepherd's bag, each with a click. And he goes and he stands before Goliath, and Goliath laughs, and the Philistines laugh at the ridiculousness of this young shepherd boy being sent before him. And Goliath says, "Come here, come closer, boy, so I may dispatch you and feed you to the birds and the wolves and the lions." And David looks at Goliath and says, "You stand there with your sword and your shield and your spear, but I stand here with the word of the Lord." And that really describes introverted feeling, that sense of being internally driven, of knowing what is right from the inside, that will make you stand up and believe in something and act on that belief. David, of course, manages to knock Goliath out with a stone from his slingshot right in the forehead, and then he walks over to Goliath, picks up Goliath's sword, and chops off his head. And there is no remorse, there is no mourning, there is no grieving on David's part. He is happily doing this because he feels that he is in the right, and he has been vindicated in his victory over the great Goliath. David, of course, goes on to write beautiful psalms, this amazing feeling that he has. But that internal sense of feeling can be so inspirational as a leader. I think it's one of the reasons David is looked at as one of the great leaders, one of the great kings in the Bible. We have an ability to understand when somebody is coming from somewhere that's deep and real and meaningful. We recognize it as true. And so when somebody comes from a place of introverted feeling and we actually expresses it, we resonate with that. And then if you combine that introverted feeling with extroverted intuiting, if you combine this sense of believing something is true and then imagining out a world that's about to be, imagining a world that's about to emerge, and then your ability to truly believe, convey your true belief in that world that's about to emerge, that is inspiring, that is powerful. Probably the most powerful example we have of that combination is Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech. There's no question when you're watching it that he fundamentally believes what he is telling you. And what he is doing is he is painting a picture of a world that he imagines to be. It is a world that he internally believes is the right world. And so again, introverted feeling is not nice. Martin Luther King turned the world upside down in order for the outside world to mirror more justly what he had inside of himself. And it is that can be inspirational leadership, and it can be a change agent. Introverted feeling is very much involved in change because of what someone believes inside, wanting that to then be reflected in the outside world. And this is one of the ways that introverted feeling should not be confused with introverted sensing. Introverted sensing is about being principled and doing the right thing, but the principles and what is considered right are determined by the group, the community, the church, the society, the laws of the land. Whereas introverted feeling will do what is right based on what the introverted feeling says is right. And therefore, it will break laws, it will break rules, it will upset communities in order to match those things for itself. One of the great examples of introverted feeling in modern day politics was President Obama's 2008 campaign, in which he rose people up with the idea of hope. People were believing that change was coming. Even if President Obama doesn't actually have introverted feeling and extroverted intuiting as dominant functions, we were seeing those processes used in the campaign, and we saw it come out in witnessing, where other people would tell stories about how they felt and how they were inspired in watching Barack Obama and their introverted feeling coming out and then spreading it to others. And another example of where this is in politics is actually with the Taliban, with our enemies. In 1996, Mullah Omar, the leader of the Taliban, went into a room in Kandahar, where he was from, and opened up a set of chests in which was supposedly a shroud, a robe, that the Prophet Muhammad himself wore. And Mullah Omar put this robe on, and he stood up in front of his followers and he gave a speech. And in many ways, this was his I have a dream speech. The very nature of putting that robe on and saying, I come in one straight line from the Prophet Muhammad, was his introverted feeling, his belief that this was right, that he was going to inspire his people to rise up and create order amongst the chaos of the civil war in Afghanistan. And it worked. It was powerful. People listened. And it was that sense of what he felt was right. And what's amazing is, if you think about the situation today, we, America, are in that part of the world. And they are looking at us and they are saying, you come here with your sword and your spear and your shield and your drones. But we are here with the name of the Lord. We are here at the Prophet Muhammad's shroud. And I think in many ways that is one of the things that's going on in this protracted war we have, which is that the extroverted thinking of American military might can't seem to make a dent on the introverted feeling of the Taliban.